Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd do something different, and we're gonna make candies, chocolate candies. Since it's Valentine's Day tomorrow, I thought it'd be fun to do a video on making chocolate candies, and these are made with nuts. So before I became a vegan, I used to teach at like two of the largest culinary schools in the US, and I used to teach baking and pastry. That was my main thing that I used to teach. And before I went vegan, I used to make this with egg whites, but I've modified it so that I don't have to make it with egg whites. We're gonna make it with syrup. So we have some water going here. We have about half a cup of water, and I'm gonna add half a cup of sugar. And we're gonna make two different types of chocolate today. We're gonna make one with mixed nuts. I have half a cup each of almond, walnut, and pecans chopped up. Pecans or pecans, however you pronounce it, it's freaking delicious. So this is gonna be the second thing we're gonna be making, the mixed nuts, and then the first one is gonna be hazelnuts. So I like doing the hazelnuts by themselves because they're kind of round, and you can make a cute little chocolate cluster with like just 3 of the hazelnuts. We have that there, okay? Now when the syrup comes to a boil, we're gonna make, well, the sugar will melt into the water and become a syrup. I'm using vanilla sugar. So whenever I use a vanilla bean in a recipe, I scrape the seeds out and then pat dry the vanilla with paper towel, and I put it into sugar. And every time I use this sugar, I replenish it with more sugar right afterwards, so that I'll always have vanilla. This smells so good. And those of you that don't know, vanilla is actually from an orchid. So it's a pod of the orchid. I know this because I'm a pastry chef, but not only that, I grew up in Hawaii, so I should really know this because orchids are huge in Hawaii. Anyways, so we're gonna let this reduce. You can go a little less than quarter cup of water. You can probably get away with 1/3 cup. That way it will evaporate faster. And so while that's going, I'm gonna make sure I have my sheet tray ready, lined with parchment or wax paper or even a silicone mat. So the idea of making the syrup is you want it nice and thick. So when the syrup gets nice and thick, we're gonna add our nuts to it. And then after adding the nuts, we're gonna add some sugar to help crystallize the syrup. That way the nuts will all get coated in sugar crystals, and it will kind of mimic. Before I used to just whisk the egg whites a little until they become light and frothy. Then I throw in my nuts and then the sugar, and then I just toss it in that so that the nuts will get coated in the sugar, and then I put it onto a sheet tray, and then we bake it. So instead of using egg whites, this is another way of doing it, a vegan way. And I don't like the taste of eggs in baked goods anyway. They're kind of too, you know that sulfur taste when you bake eggs? I never really cared for it when I was not vegan. So going vegan made it a lot easier for me. So this is getting thicker. I think I put a little more than 1/4 cup. So at home, when you're doing this, make sure you do less than quarter cup. All you're wanting to do is making sure that the sugar is dissolved. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put in my hazelnuts. And what I did with the hazelnuts also is I picked out all the whole pieces. I don't want halves in here. And if you can find the ones without the skin, the one that's been blanched and then peeled, that's a little better too. It makes it less bitter, but this is the only ones I could find outside of ordering from a what do you call it, professional warehouse, you know. So we're gonna let this reduce and come back. Okay, so this is just about reduced. Most of the water is gone. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take about two teaspoons of sugar and just pour it right into it because we want it to crystallize. And then just stir it. And as the water evaporates, the sugar is going to crystallize and it's gonna coat the nuts all over. Another key point when you want the sugar to crystallize is keep stirring it. So that's why when you're making syrup for making meringues, like when you want to do Italian meringue and you want to cook the sugar without crystallizing, you never stir and you always like wipe the sides with brush with water. But in this case, we want the sugar to crystallize, so we're gonna keep stirring it. I think I had a little too much water when I added the sugar, so I'm gonna add a little more sugar now. So now most of the water is gone, and look at this, it's starting to crystallize. I turned it off the heat because there's residual heat right here. And you see how the syrup is getting drier? And you can see, you know, like if you ever been to New York City, they have those nut vendors and they make the peanuts right in front of you. This is how they make it. So you can see the crystallization right here. It's a little more wet here, but most of the nuts are covered in sugar. So this is done. I turned it off because if you have it on high heat, and you're gonna burn the sugar, and it's not gonna be very pleasant. So we put this on a sheet tray and we're gonna bake this because we want the nuts to get nice and toasty. Even though it cooked a little here, if you don't toast it, the oils from the inside of the nut are not gonna come out and make it really delicious. So we're gonna bake this at 375 for about 8 minutes. Now we're gonna go ahead and make our second type of nuts. So we're gonna turn on the heat. I have less water in here than before, But since I have about a cup and a half of nuts here, I'm gonna do a cup and a half of sugar. So this part, oh, you see the little vanilla here? Take it out. So this part, this nut, these are less, I would say, stronger than hazelnut. You can tell when you taste the hazelnut that it's hazelnut. Well, FYI, it's also called filbert. So hazelnut / filbert. So if you hear filbert, don't get all confused, okay? So it has two names. So this one, if you kept the nuts whole and you didn't want to make chocolate, you can make savory / snack nuts. That's sugar by doing this part and keeping the nuts whole. And I'm gonna add some ground ginger, cayenne, allspice, a little bit of nutmeg, and cinnamon. So it's gonna be like a spiced nut that you can enjoy as a snack, or when you have guests over, they can snack on those. But you can omit the spices if you want to keep the chocolate plain. So this part you can either make it into the chocolate, or if you keep it whole, you can make this part and then just toast the nuts, and then that's it. That you can serve as a snack. So you can do two different things with it. So we're making the syrup. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of cinnamon. I would say quarter teaspoon of allspice. I like spicy nuts, so I'm gonna put half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Ginger, I'm gonna put about a teaspoon. Ground ginger, dry ground ginger, 1 teaspoon. And then nutmeg, I'm gonna put about half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Okay, so now that our syrup is boiling, and I have all these ready, we're gonna come back when the syrup, our syrup is just about there. If you wanna go a little more, if you like dried fruits, you can also put dried fruits in here along with the nuts. If you wanna make it a little fancier, you can. I like mine kind of plain without any dried fruit. So, okay, so you see when the sugar is bubbling like this and it's gotten thicker, we're gonna add all our nuts. They're gonna chop this one up. Okay. Then we're gonna put all our spices. Mix it up. Wait until this reduces. Oh, this smells so good. Why I let the nuts kind of boil in here a little bit before the syrup gets thick enough is so that the nuts kind of warms up, and then the oils inside kind of warm up, so you get a nuttier, toastier flavor when you put it into the oven. You don't have to bake it as much because it's getting pre-cooked here. That's why we're only putting it into the oven for about 8 minutes. Otherwise, if you had cold nuts and you just coat it with the syrup, then you would have to bake it in the oven a little longer. So as this syrup reduces, you're also going to put a little more little sugar, about a tablespoon, to get it crystallized. Have my sheet tray ready to go. If you could smell all the spices that I put in there, it's smelling really good. Oh, you know what? I like to taste the black pepper also, so I'm gonna put some black pepper in here. So most of the sugar, the water is gone. So I'm gonna add a tablespoon of sugar, granulated sugar, and I'm gonna agitate it so that it crystallizes. That it's starting to crystallize and get dry. I'm going to turn the heat off. Oh yes. Okay. So pretty much this crystallized. You want to loosen up. You don't want like huge clusters of nuts as of yet. That we're gonna do when we coat it with chocolate. Okay, so we have the nuts ready here. This one we're just gonna bake it for about, I wouldn't bake it for more than 5 minutes since the pieces are kind of small. Okay, so I have 2 different types of chocolate here. These are Calabo. So this is a Belgian chocolate, but I know they're based out of Canada, and I know there's a factory in Vermont also, in St. Albans, because I used to live in Vermont when I taught at the New England Culinary Institute. They're out of business now because of COVID, but yeah, so the Calabo, I like these because they're almost like the size of chocolate chips, so they melt a lot faster. And this is 54.5% chocolate, and they're dark, so they're not supposed to have any milk solids in it, but in the back, in the ingredient, it says it may contain milk because they process it in the same machines, so it might have traces of milk in it. Milk solids, but mainly this has the cocoa mass, then sugar, then emulsifier called soy lecithin, and a little bit of vanilla flavor. But majority of the ingredient is chocolate, and this is a little sweeter. I have another brand here. This is Valrhona. This is a French chocolate company, and you can get both of these online. I bought this one on Amazon. This one I went to the local restaurant supply store and I bought this. This one is 66%, so it's more bitter. And then these chocolates have this like a oval shaped palate. It's a little sharper because it's 66% cocoa mass. This one is 54.5% cocoa mass. So these are both couvertures. So when you get into chocolate, there's two main different types of chocolates. Couverture, which is made with the actual cocoa bean. Then there's a coating chocolate or candy chocolate, those, they take the cocoa fat out of the cocoa mass, then they add shortening to it. So the process is a little different when you're melting the candy. With the couvertures, you need to melt dark chocolate to temperature about 130 degrees to break down the crystals. Then after it's melted to about 130 degrees, you can't just use it. You need to do a step further, which is adding more chocolate to it to introduce the beta crystal so that it will harden. Otherwise, your chocolate will not set up. If you put it into the refrigerator, yeah, it will set up temporarily, but as soon as it gets to room temperature, it will get soft and like gooey. So if you have the candy or coating chocolates, you don't have to do that extra step. But the mouthfeel is totally different from eating a couverture and a coating chocolate. So you can decide what you want to do. I don't even consider coating chocolate or chocolate. For a little design on top, this is a coating chocolate. I found white chocolate that has no milk solids. I don't think I ever found a couverture without any milk solids. But I found this on Amazon also. It's kind of pricey, but it's kind of worth. I don't use a lot of it, so I splurged and bought it. So as you can see, my chocolate melted to 131 degrees. And so now we're gonna be adding. If this is about 2 pounds of chocolate, I'm gonna add 1/3. So 1/3 of 2 pounds is about 10 ounces. Because 2 pounds is 32 ounces. 1/3 would be about 10 ounces of chocolate. And we're going to basically melt it off the heat. So this is in pastry term called seeding. When you seed the beta crystals from the chocolate that comes from the factory, it introduces the nice crystals needed for it to set up. We're gonna bring this down in temperature to about 93 or 95 degrees. Each manufacturer is different, so you have to look at the packaging and it'll tell you what's the optimal temperature that you can work with. There's another trick to doing this without seeding. That's if you have a heat really low with the water and you put the chocolate on there, and if it never goes higher than 95 degrees, the beta crystals won't disappear. That way it will always be in temper. And so when there's no lump, the key to tempering is also stirring. You stir it like crazy. To introduce the crystals. So the crystals are like like a fun analogy would be the beta crystals will be like the bad friends. And you want to turn this chocolate into the whole, you know how like they say one rotten apple boils the whole bushel? So that's the idea. You want the whole thing to be tempered, have all that crystals in it. So if you don't have a thermometer, one way, so it's a little hot, 95, I think you work it around 93. We don't have time to use a thermometer all the time in the kitchen, so one of the old Austrian chefs from Hawaii, when I went to school there, showed us that you can take the chocolate and put it under your lip because it's sensitive there, and if it's warm, it's not ready. But I thought that's kind of unsanitary, so I know that my wrist is also sensitive. So what I did was I took the chocolate and put it on my wrist. And if it's just like your body temperature, little less than body temperature, it's ready, because your body temperature is supposed to be 98.6, right? But if it's warmer than your wrist, then you need to add more chocolate. This is just about there. Yeah, I think it's pretty perfect. It's at 91 now, so it's not more than 93. You don't want to go less than 90 because it'll start seizing up. So now that we have our chocolate, there's still little bits of lump, but it's okay. I'm going to try to smooth it out with the spatula here. Turn on the heat a little bit. And then one way to also tell if your chocolate is ready is you take the back of the spoon, just coat it, and you leave it there. If it hardens up and when you touch it it's not tacky, then that means your chocolate is tempered. So before you make your final product with the nuts, don't start making it until you're sure that your chocolate is tempered. And as I stir, I always scrape the side because it's colder up here and your chocolate's gonna seize up here. So I always bring it down to the base and I work with it. So since we're going to be making two different types of chocolate, I have my cold hazelnut. There's a little one here. Oh, delicious. So I can tell that this is tempering. It's not hard yet, but it's getting. It wouldn't. You can see that it's getting firm around here already. It's only been like less than a minute. So and then I know from experience, so I'm gonna go for it. About a third of this chocolate. I'm going to add it to my hazelnuts. I'm going to take about a third of this chocolate and I'm going to add it to my hazelnuts. I'm going to wear gloves. And I'm going to toss the chocolate with the hazelnut. And I'm going to take clusters of 3. Place it right on the sheet tray. And I'm going to put a little extra chocolate on top. Actually, I could use a little more chocolate in here. So once you add the chocolate into the nut, you need to work quickly because the chocolate is starting to set already. Actually, I'm going to put a little more. Because I want like the drips of chocolate on top so that it has a nice shape, not just have like clusters of chocolate all over. This chocolate, do I put it back in here? No, because this has the sugar crystals from the nuts. I'm gonna put it off to the side where I'll put all my scraps, and this is something you make ganache with. So ganache is usually cream with chocolate, and that's used to either cover cakes, or in this case you wouldn't want to cover cake with it because the ganache is not going to be smooth. So we're gonna save our chocolate, and we'll probably use it in something else, like making a filling for the. I'll do bonbons in another video. So we're gonna get a fresh bowl. I'm going to add all this into the chocolate here, and for this, I'm gonna use 2 spoons. So you notice that while I was working on this, I had the chocolate on the water bath. This is just warm. I have the heat off. You don't want it with the heat on, or you're gonna have to re-temper it. So I'm gonna take a spoon and then put. This is basically, what do you call those? People call it turtles. So simple. You could even do it with your kids. No, maybe not with kids. Maybe. If you don't mind cleaning a big mess, you know, because kids will have chocolate all over themselves and then the clothes, but why not, right? If they have aprons on so that it doesn't get on their clothes, it's fine. Just do the fun part with the chocolate like this with the spoons. Making it the size of like $50, and I'm getting around about 30 pieces. So now, do I just throw this chocolate from the bowl away? No. See how it's tempered? Yes, I still got it. I'm gonna warm it up. Always have a towel next to you when you're working with chocolate so that you can wipe any that gets on your hand so it doesn't go all over the place. I know you want to lick it, but unless if you're gonna make it just all for yourself, that's a bad habit. Don't lick your hands, even though it's delicious chocolate. I'm gonna get rid of this water. Just gonna go directly over the heat, just to heat up the bottom. how I like to save it is on a sheet tray with parchment, and I just lay the chocolate on top like this. And I flatten it out as much as I can. And I'll leave the spatula on there too, because once the chocolate hardens up on the spatula, I can just peel it off the spatula. So I have some of the white chocolate, the coating white chocolate, right here in my bowl, and I melted it over the water bath. And we're gonna drizzle it on top. So in order to do that, you take a piece of rectangular parchment paper. Can't really see on here, so I'm gonna use this. We're gonna fold it in half like this. Not completely in half because it's rectangular, it will never be. Then we're gonna, this is the important part right here. You're gonna try to cut it so that there's no creases on your cutting edge. So have a nice sharp knife. Cut. And we're gonna make a thing called cornet. So it's a French term, which you take a piece of paper. There's a edge here without a sharp tip like here. Down here there's a tip that's kind of like fatter here, and then it's skinnier here. So we're gonna go towards the fatter end. We're gonna go about 2/3 way up. Then we're gonna bring this paper and turn it into a cone shape onto the end here. And we're gonna wrap this around and basically make a cone. And you're gonna hold the inside and pull the outside to make a nice sharp tip. And once you have that, you're gonna take the end and secure it down like this. Then you're gonna take your chocolate and pour it into don't fill it more than halfway because it's going to spew out everywhere. So once you have a nice fine tip, you're going to fold it. See, I put a little too much. It's been a while, okay? And then you're going to fold down to secure the chocolate so that it will not spew out from the top. And the way you use it is you squeeze here. So we're gonna take scissors and we're gonna cut just a little so that we get a nice fine tip. The chocolate is so cold in here that it's seized up in the tip. So you see how the chocolate comes out nice and fine like this? Then we're gonna take, these have all hardened because they're tempered correctly. So we're gonna go pretty fast and just go over the chocolate. If you're not used to it, you can do one by one. But I'm kind of used to doing this, so I'm gonna go all over. You can go back and cover up any that has very little. The coating chocolate, you see it's seized up quite a bit because the room is cold today. There's a cold front here in Arizona, so I'm gonna I'm gonna take 2/3 up, pull it down into the center, and wrap it around. Okay, so this is the thinner end. I'm gonna pull this towards the end. That's my middle. Then when I hold on to this, I wrap it around. I hold the middle so that it doesn't move, and I pull the outside so that the tip gets nice and pointy and it has a clean tip. If you don't secure the middle as you're pulling the outside, then it's gonna keep moving and you're not gonna have a fine tip like this. Secure it. Now, if you had food coloring that was oil based, you can add it to this white chocolate to make different colors. But I don't have any, so I'm not gonna do that. If you put water based food color, it's not gonna work. It's gonna just seize up the chocolate. So just cut the tip. Tighter you make the drizzling, nicer it looks. You see how, like, if I go fast and I just skim over it, it doesn't look as nice. If you make many passes going over the chocolate, it looks a lot nicer. There we have our Valentine's Day chocolate. Wanted to like make a homemade gift for your loved ones, you can go to like the dollar store and get those little paper boxes and just put these in it and say, "Happy Valentine's Day, you're gonna get lucky." No, just kidding. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Let's put it on here. So the feet you want to get rid of. When I say feet, it's like a little puddle at the end here. Just take that off because it's not. Let me show you a good example. Okay, this is what I mean by feet. Just take that off. It looks a lot cleaner. Well, I don't really have anyone to give this to this year, so I'm gonna eat it all by myself. Don't feel bad for me. I have a lot of chocolate. It's by choice, okay? So, yeah, it's pretty easy. Let me try the hazelnut. You hear that crunch? That means it's tempered perfectly. You get that richness from the chocolate, and then when you bite into it, there's that coating of sugar that's really crunchy. And then the crunch of the toasted hazelnut. So there's 3 different layers of crunch. So delicious. Okay, we're gonna try to mix that. Just got a mouthful of almonds, walnuts, and pecans. Or pecans. See, it melts in your hand. I haven't had breakfast or lunch yet, so I'm not gonna eat anymore. I just had 2. This is gonna last me over like 2 weeks because I only eat like 1 or 2 a day, or not even. Sometimes I won't even eat it at all because I don't have a sweet tooth. So I might put it in the freezer, and then when my parents come, I'll give it to them because it might warm up by then, so it's gonna melt. It gets hot here in Arizona, so I hope you learned something fun today. It's not hard to make this. Okay, maybe I'll have one more because I feel like being silly. The mixed nut has I just got a punch of cayenne at the end, but I taste the ginger, the nutmeg. Do I have anything on my teeth? So delicious. I hope you enjoyed this video. Press the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with all your friends. And have some fun for Valentine's Day. Make your own chocolate. It's not hard. Everyone will appreciate it a lot more. So thank you for watching this video, and the next one I'm gonna make Korean fried chicken. Okay? See you later. Bye.